Morning, 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 good morning, 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 morning. Now, I think you'll all agree that was an extra special good morning that I did for you there this morning. And I'll tell you why that is, folks. Today's a very special day. Special just because of that, really. You see, that's my morning that I have down here on the West Sussex coastline. It's about 6:15 a.m. and things are nice and quiet and peaceful down here. Usually, folks, this is how I like to start my wee day. Just coming down here to check everything's okay. Now, I just want to explain to you today what these things are for. Now, see these things here? Just get my pointing right there. Them things there, folks. Them's called the big water pumpers. The big water pumpers, folks. What they do is they control the tides down here on the West Sussex coastline. I'm not sure about the other stretches of coast around the United Kingdom, but I know this is how it works down here. What these do, folks, see, these are put down here by the big water company. And whenever the big water company needs the water in other parts of the country, what they do is they suck all the water up. The big water pumpers suck it all up and they distribute it through this intricate series of underground tunnels, and they pump the water wherever the water actually needs to be used. Pumping water all over the country. I hear you say, what on earth is Mr. Stephen on about today? Well, folks, it's just basic facts. This is how it works, and I'm here to illuminate you, right? So just buckle yourselves in, and I'm going to explain it to you a wee bit more. Big water pumpers, as I say, whenever the tide's a wee bit out like this, it means that the water company has basically sucked the water up, and it's in the process of slowly pumping it back. Now you come down here today, a bit later on, and what you'll probably find, folks, is all that water on the beach is being very nicely replenished. It's all been pumped back through the pumper, that pumper there, as well as the other pumpers further up and down the beach. It's very interesting, I'm sure you'll agree. But this particular model here that you see, folks, this model is the K65 model. It's a good, solid, reliable water pumper. So it is the K65. I hear you say, what on earth is Mr. Stephen on about? Well, it's really very simple, folks. K65 might sound like a very technical name for the big water pumper that you see there, but the reason behind the name is very, very simple indeed, very straightforward, and I'll explain it to you now very briefly, so I will. That, you see, the water pumpers, all the water pumpers, they're manufactured, as you might already know, up in the forests of Lincolnshire, near where they make the sausages. Now, they're manufactured by the big water pumper company, which is headed up by none other than a fellow by the name of Johnny Mabbott. Now, Johnny Mabbott is a bit of a legendary figure in the industry of the water pumpers. What he did back in 1965 is he called upon the services of one of his finest pumper engineers, and his name was Kenny, and Kenny made that pumper there, that one there, in 1965. K65. You see, folks, it's really not that technical or hard to understand. It's quite simple. But that's a good, solid, reliable number. That is, that particular pumper there has only been serviced about 3 times since 1965. So that just goes to show you. I mean, it's just managed to pump all the water pretty much unaided, apart from that, those few services for all that time. Quite impressive. I'm sure you'll all agree. But going back to Johnny Mabbott, and the big water pumper company, they're actually the envy of the world when it comes to the pumping of the water, folks, and they have the last 10 years in a row they have managed quite easily to win the big Golden Pumper Award that they at the ceremony that they have once a year for all the big water pumper companies all over the world. And the United Kingdom and Johnny Mabbott's company in particular are definitely the envy of the water pumping world. So there you go, folks. You heard it here first. Who knew that our country were such pioneers of excellence in this sort of thing. I didn't know about it, but I do now, so I do. It's very impressive stuff, very impressive stuff. But anyway, I digress a little bit, folks. I've got a wee bit of a story to tell you as well, something that happened to me quite recently. Now, I came down here a few Sundays ago, so I did. And the tide was very, very far out indeed. So I thought to myself, the big water company, they've sucked all the water up, they've pumped it up, so they have. They must need it for some kind of emergency. I wonder what that emergency could possibly be. And then I came down later on, folks, same day, just checking up on things, and I noticed that the water had not been pumped back. And I came back the next day again, and the water had still not been pumped back. So I was a wee bit concerned, a bit miffed, to say the least. So what I did, folks, is I contacted the big water company. I got through to a wee fella by the name of Darren. I said to him, Darren, he said, Mr. Stephen. I said, Darren, I need you to explain something to me here. I explained to him the situation, folks. He just said, Mr. Stephen, we needed to hold the water for another day. Why is none of your concern? Mind your own business. And he put the phone down on me. So folks, it was absolutely outraged to say the least, outraged. So I took it a step higher, folks, a few steps higher actually, and I went to the head honcho of the water company. I spoke to a fellow by the name of Mr. Billy. I said, Mr. Billy. He said, Mr. Stephen. I've got a few problems here, Mr. Billy. Firstly, I was trying to get some answers out of the wee fella Darren that works for you, and he just wasn't very helpful at all. And actually, he was a little bit rude to me. And also, I just need some answers. I need some answers. You know, I'm down here keeping an eye on things for you, and I'm entitled to those answers because of all the hard work that I do down here for you on the beaches around the Worthing area. So, Mr. Billy was absolutely outraged and disappointed, folks. He said, Mr. Stephen, you rest assured, get the finger out, you rest assured that Darren will be suitably reprimanded for his unhelpfulness and rudeness to you. Also, I will explain to you what we needed the water for. We did indeed need to hold the water for another 24 hours, Mr. Stephen. And this is because we had a few fires up and down the country, but mainly based around the West Midlands area of England. So a few fires, we needed to just make sure we had enough water in all the pumpers to make sure that we could safely and completely extinguish all these fires that we had there. And I said to Mr. Billy, I said, well, that's a very good reason to hold on to the water. I won't lie to you. Were all the fires completely and safely extinguished? And he said, certainly were, and you'll be pleased to know, Mr. Stephen, there were no fatalities or no serious injuries at all. So I said, that's great to hear. Okay, I am satisfied with the answer. He said, but if you notice now, Mr. Stephen, the water has been pumped back, but we might need it again tomorrow. And I said, well, that's fine. I've got my answers. I'm satisfied, Mr. Billy. Thanks very much for that. And then Mr. Billy went on to say something really quite touching, folks. He said, Mr. Stephen, it's not the first time you've been on the phone to us reporting such things. Now, we're not in a position to hire new staff at the minute, but if we were, I would hire you in a heartbeat, because you're our eyes and ears down there on the West Sussex coastline. Maybe we'll give you a wee unofficial position down there as, I don't know, West Sussex Tidal Patrol. How does that sound to you? So I said, that's a great honour. That's a great honour, so it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Billy. So there you go, folks. I'm feeling quite proud and quite happy with myself because of all of this. Because you see, everyone thinks, they see me walking up and down here, but everyone just thinks I'm an ordinary Joe. I'm not an ordinary Joe. I keep my eye on all the water levels down here, folks, and I report it to the big water company if things are amiss. So I says to Mr. Billy, Do you think I could get a nice wee uniform or something so people can recognise me and know who I am down here? And he said, I'm not so sure about that, but I might be able to get you a wee, nice wee polo shirt with a bit of embroidery just here on it. And I said, that's lovely. What will the embroidery say? And he says, I don't know. What would you like it to say, Mr. Stephen? And I says, I'd quite like it to say, Mr. Stephen, West Sussex Tidal Patrol. How's about that for you? I said, well, we'll get to work on that, Mr. Stephen. We will get to work on that. So that's very exciting, folks. I've got that in the way. The polo shirt hasn't come through just yet, but I will start to apply small amounts of pressure to Mr. Billy to get me that as soon as possible, just so people. And now, see, when I'm wearing that, folks, people walking up and down the beach here, they'll know who I am, so they will, and they'll be able to come up and talk to me. I do love a wee chat, and they can come up and ask me questions about the tidal system down here, and maybe technical questions about the big pumpers that you see here. Now this one here, folks, isn't a particularly big pumper. That's just a pumper, so it is. But further up and down the beach here, you've got the big water pumpers. See there? You've got the big water pumpers and the big water pumpers, and then what they're working on up at Johnny Mabbitt's factory in the forests of Lincolnshire is a new pumper. It's called the turbo pumper. But they say, folks, that the turbo pumper will only be used in cases of extreme emergency. So it'll be very exciting to find out when that's first used, that big turbo pumper. And rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, that I will be on the scene as soon as that thing gets switched on for the first time, just to see how well it pumps, how fast it pumps. And I'll be, because I am also unofficially working for the big water company, I will get to know where it's being pumped to and why. So that's all very exciting, folks. Very, very exciting indeed. So as I say, I'm still waiting for the polo shirt to come through, but I'll do another wee broadcast whenever I get the package delivered to the house, and we'll open it up together and have a look at my nice wee uniform that I get. All right, folks, so have yourselves a lovely day and stay out of trouble now.